And welcome back to the Awfully Irish podcast.
So today we have ourselves a very, very cool guest. How about you introduce yourself?
Jack Horner. I'm a paleontologist. I dig up dinosaurs. I'm basically a glorified ditch digger.
Awesome.
I teach at a university, Chapman University in Orange, California, currently.
Thomas, fix your mic. Thomas, your mic.
Is that my mic? Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're doing something very special at the moment. People may or may not know about. You want to bring back the dinosaurs in a very unique way.
Well, I certainly want to find out. I want to see if we can. I'm interested in just seeing what we can do with very light genetic engineering. See if we can see if birds are living dinosaurs. They're the descendants of the extinct dinosaurs, and there are genes that are called atavistic genes. They are genes that have been turned off during the course of evolution. And if they exist in birds, which they should, and we can find them, it's potentially possible to turn them back on and at least retrieve a few of the characteristics that have been lost in the evolution from extinct dinosaurs to birds.
So, like, what kind of ones do you want to bring back then?
Well,
birds are dinosaurs anyway, but what features are you trying to bring back?
Well, it would be cool if we could bring back some of the features that kind of identify an extinct dinosaur, like their arms and hands, right? They're with claws on them, and they have a long bony tail, and they have a head that, the velociraptor head looks a lot different than a bird's head. Also, they have teeth, and birds don't generally sport teeth. So basically, if we could just take a bird and give it arms and transform its arms and hands back to its wings back to arms and hands, and give it a long bony tail, and give it a head that looks more like a dinosaur, a velociraptor, than a chicken, we'd have something that looked pretty close to a dinosaur without too much trouble.
And what makes you want to do this? Like, it's you see it in the movies. I know you were involved in the Jurassic Park movies, in Jurassic World. What made you want to do this?
Well, first off, movies are fiction, right? I mean, people that make movies are trying to entertain people. They do not go, if you're going to make a movie about wild animals chasing people, you don't make a documentary, right? So if you're going to make a story about lions and tigers and all these kind of animals chasing people, you're not going to go to Africa or India and film live ones, because they sit around and sleep all day. In a Steven Spielberg movie, you have to have some action, right? So your dinosaurs are actors, and they're doing things that they would not do in real life. So, I would like to make a real dinosaur, and unfortunately, the dinosaur is probably just going to sit around and sleep most of the day, just like any other animal.
Yeah, it's not going to be like the movies.
Right. It's not going to chase your cats and dogs. It's not going to run around the neighborhood and cause a ruckus.
And you've said before you want to do with like chickens, but one thing some people can't wrap their mind around is if you give a chicken a tail and teeth and hands, it's still a chicken.
It is still a chicken. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's going to act like a chicken.
It is going to act like a chicken. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not about trying to get the chicken to act like a dinosaur or anything else. The idea really is just to see if we can retrieve some of these lost characteristics. That's really all there is to it, and make, create an animal that looks a little more like a dinosaur. It is a mutated bird, basically. But then, all of us are mutated something or other, right? I mean, that's what evolution is all about, is mutations.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah.
Just want to point out, lad, you're being awful quiet.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm interested in listening and then giving a bit of feedback.
Yeah, so it's like science fiction-y.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really believe it's actually being done.
Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, it's science is pretty cool. It's interesting to see what we can discover, don't you think?
Of course. Yeah.
Speaking of things you can discover, you have contributed a lot to that field. Can you tell us a bit about stuff you've done over your career?
Oh, I've dug up a lot of dinosaurs. So, I started early on. I guess some of the first things that I was involved with were finding baby dinosaurs and dinosaur eggs, dinosaur embryos. I learned a lot of, my were working on trying to understand dinosaur social behaviors, how dinosaurs, the fact that they lived in colonies like birds. And it really was, sort of the first evidence that really did show the similarity of dinosaurs and birds, in their behaviors. So that was a lot of fun. And then, went on from there to find a lot of new dinosaurs and, name some new ones. And then, a lot of projects having to do with growth, what we call ontogeny, how dinosaurs change as they grow up.
You did a TED Talk on that, didn't you?
Pardon? Yes, I did a TED Talk on that. That's correct. And then we did the Hell Creek Project, which was this all-encompassing, probably the largest paleontological dinosaur project in history, where we took, a whole bunch of people from all different avenues of geology and biology and paleontology, and we went out and spent years collecting out of the Hell Creek Formation, where we got, a dozen T-Rexes and 100 Triceratops skeletons. So we could do, some really cool population studies and statistical studies to look at how dinosaurs grow, and how they change. And again, it showed a strong link with their descendants, the birds.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of stuff you saying you like to call the T-Rex a scavenger instead of a massive predator and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I do. That's very true. And I have to say that, I get a lot of hate mail from sixth graders. They really do not like that idea. But one of the things that I try to point out to everyone, to kids and everyone else, is that, we need to use data. We need to use information. We need to use our scientific evidence that we find before we say something. So just because T-Rex is big and has big teeth and looks ferocious does not necessarily mean it's an apex predator. There has to be evidence to say that. And if you look at a Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton and next to it have a picture of a velociraptor, you will notice that they are just completely different. I mean, basically everything is opposite. T-Rex, has its iconical short little front legs, its arms. Velociraptors have good grasping arms. You could imagine a velociraptor actually running, chasing something and catching it. And Tyrannosaurus Rex, is a gigantic animal that probably weighed, who knows, I mean, it weighed as much as a couple of elephants, and I mean, it's just a very large creature. We know that it really couldn't run. It's also, if you look at the leg proportions, the upper leg bone, the femur, and the lower bones, the shin bones or the tibia, they're about the same length. In fact, sometimes in some individuals, the femur, the upper leg bone, is actually longer than the lower one. And in animals that are bipedal, like birds that run fast, they have a short femur and a long tibia, and that gives them the leverage to run really fast. So T-Rex has the opposite of that. It's got these short little arms. It's got these legs that look like they're really made for long distance walking rather than running. They have bone crushing teeth. Virtually all of the meat-eating dinosaurs have blade-shaped teeth. Velociraptor and even the allosaurs and animals like that have blade-shaped teeth for slicing meat, apparently. But Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I missed that. Could you say it again?
Tyrannosaurus Rex has bone-crushing teeth. So it has evolved bone-crushing teeth. Its ancestors didn't have bone-crushing teeth. They had they had these laterally compressed teeth. So Tyrannosaurus Rex has, followed a path where it evolved these bone-crushing teeth. And why do that if you're a top predator? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. If you're the one that does the killing, you're there first. You can eat the meat. If you're there second or third, then you're going to need bone-crushing teeth. And that's what we see with hyenas. Yes, hyenas do take down animals once in a while. My parrot is going kind of crazy right now. My
little dinosaur.
But so, and when we look at the olfactory, the smelling sense that T-Rex has a huge olfactory lobe for, what we think is long distance smelling. It's not like a dog. It's not like a dog that can tell whether you were there the day before. It has more of an olfactory system that is much more like a turkey vulture. So, just add up all of the evidence, and it suggests that at least T-Rex is most likely an opportunist. It would just take food however it could get it. And that is not being like a cheetah, and probably not even being like a lion, being a lot more like, just taking carcasses more often than not if they're available. It may be a sick animal or a weak prey animal, but no reason for Tyrannosaurus Rex to be chasing around running after something that is healthy.
So, like, it just kind of steals or... Yeah. No, I get you. I've changed my perspective on Jurassic Park.
Humans are like this too. We are opportunists as well. I mean, if back in our early days, in our evolutionary history, you can imagine that our ancestors would likely have waited for a predator to take down something and then chase them away. It's an easier meal than, trying to run down a deer.
Of course.
Better off to wait for a coyote to take it down and then chase the coyote away.
That's a good point.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we just see the movies. We don't think of this stuff.
Yeah, you just
That's why there's people like you out there.
take what's given to you and just kind of, that's how it must have been, But if you think about it kind of like that, no, it makes sense.
I remember like a few years ago when there was like the articles going around on Facebook and all that, like T-Rex couldn't run, and people were like so upset over it.
There's no way.
They were like, no, my favorite movie is a lie.
That's true.
When I found out like most dinosaurs had feathers, I remember being like 12 and I was like, oh my god. I just couldn't believe it. It was like it was all ruined.
Yeah, that's what I say. A lot of children, they don't like these ideas. They like the movie ideas, Steven Spielberg makes better dinosaurs than us paleontologists.
But you were involved in the design for the dinosaurs, weren't you?
Pardon?
You were like a scientific advisor for those movies, weren't you?
I was the scientific advisor for all of the ones that have been made so far. I am not involved with the one that's being created right now. Stephen Brussetti, who's at the museum in Edinburgh, Scotland, is actually the advisor of this new one.
Oh, fair enough.
That must be weird. Yeah, and I know you were like in charge of designing the Indominus Rex, this genetically modified dinosaur. What made you make the way it was?
Well, the people wanted a dinosaur that was mean and nasty as it could be. So we know that if we actually could bring dinosaurs back, and we can do transgenic engineering. I mean, we do that even now. We can take genes out of one animal and put it in another. We do that with glowfish, right? We take the glow genes out of a jellyfish and put them in a zebrafish and make them glow in the dark. So, transgenic engineering is one of those things that we have the capability of doing. And so if we had dinosaurs, if we actually could bring them back the way they did in Jurassic Park, we actually probably could make transgenic dinosaurs. And Indominus Rex is theoretically an animal like that, where, it's got cuttlefish skin to camouflage, and then, we add some, velociraptor mean genes together with some T-Rex big genes, and, theoretically you could get yourself a really nasty animal.
So, so we can make a glowing Dino-Chicken now. That's great. What was I going to ask? You've run into a bit of, or in general, the Dino-Chicken projects run into a bit of problems with the tail.
Yeah.
Do you explain a little bit about that, if you're able to?
Yeah, well, it's simple. Like I said, the idea really is to look for atavistic genes. I mean, the project really was to see whether we could retrieve dinosaur characteristics that have been lost during the course of evolution. And so, the only genes that could be retrieved are atavistic genes, ones that have been turned off. And there are a number of them. The teeth, for example, is one. The shape of the head is a couple of them. The leg, some leg bones that are more dinosaur than bird-like are examples. The arms and hands are examples, but the tail isn't. That's one of the things we discovered was the tail, the long tail, the loss of the long tail is not the result of a gene that has just been turned off. It's been lost, which means if we are going to make an animal with a long tail, we're actually going to have to do transgenic engineering to get it. And that, sort of defeats the purpose of the project because then you're making an Indominus Rex rather than retro engineering evolution.
Would you have to use one of the closer relatives with tails like Dino-Chicken, like crocodiles or alligators?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we're not sure. We're still trying to figure that out. We are still the team is still working on the tail. They're learning a lot of really cool things about how tails work and how they form in a bird and we're actually learning things that are applicable to human beings. So and may be able to solve some genetic diseases that humans have. So it's a cool project and it continues, but we're not going to be able to make the dinosaur we were hoping to make based on atavism, reversing evolution, basically.
Yeah. It's kind of like byproducts of what you're doing. Like if it goes wrong, you're doing something else, and that's useful anyway. So a lot's being learned from wanting to make a dinosaur chicken. It's a very positive thing.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So how far off a dino chicken do you think we are? Like a fully fledged
5, 10.
Well, that's a good question. Now, without what we don't know how long it might take. Making a tail, you can't just lop off an alligator embryonic tail and tie it onto a bird.
Have you tried? No.
Actually, it has been attempted.
Oh God!
Some kinds of things like that have been attempted, but they're done. They're done at a level where the embryo is just minute. It's it's basically a bunch of cells.
Yeah.
And not really an organism. So it's none of these experiments are done on anything that looks like an animal. It's really a collection of cells that have recently differentiated. So it's very it's done with very early embryos.
Yeah,
and
it's cruelty. Like it's not. There's no cruelty. So that's important. Like,
well, that's a discussion you could have. A philosophical discussion you could have with a lot of people that understand things rather than not understand things, right? So.
Yeah.
We're all made of cells. We're made of, 30 trillion cells. And each one of those cells, you could say, is one of us, right?
Yeah.
Because if you take a cell, you can clone it and make another human being. So, or, a pig cell and make a pig.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of these conversations that you can have, but it makes sense if everybody is actually, trained in biology before you actually make that kind of a discussion.
I think you get a bit of flack off people for wanting to make dinosaur chicken. You talked about it before, but I'm definitely on the side of making it because there's more benefits than negatives by a mile.
I think so too. Yes.
And then you gotta impress the 8th graders.
Well, it'd be fun anyway.
Yeah.
The argument I keep making when people talk about stuff like that is, we have messed around with dogs, right? Domestic dogs. We have messed around with them fiercely, and people still have Chihuahuas and Shih Tzus and all these weird things that that have incredible mutations.
Yeah.
You know, that, I mean, that's the discussion to have. If you can, you know, if it's okay to breed dogs that have their lower jaws extended farther than their upper jaws, you know, just to give them that bulldog look. I mean, if that's okay, then
Like,
you know,
that's pretty bad.
Dino-Chicken is nothing.
Yeah, think of it like a chicken with a tail or a dog that's in pain for its entire life and can't breed. Like,
Right. Well, that's exactly
nobody in a
right.
position to argue there.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
yeah, I'm lost now. What to say? It's like
I was wondering. We were talking about your like discoveries and finds earlier. What do you think was like the most exciting discovery of your career?
You know, people ask me that a lot. You know, my first answer is always, you know, my graduate students, just finding all these brilliant people that have gone on to make names for themselves. So I'm really proud of them. But, you know, as far as paleontological discoveries, I think the most excited I ever was finding a clutch of basically the first clutch of dinosaur eggs that had little baby skeletons inside of them.
I saw a picture of that one earlier on. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just absolutely unbelievable.
That sounds pretty cool. To be fair.
Yeah. Wow.
I would have thought your answer would have been the soft tissue. You guys found soft tissue in
that I would you know, that was one of my graduate students that made that discovery. Mary Schweitzer. She was one of my former doctoral students, and I would say that should be her favorite. That should be her most, you know, her crowning achievement. But it's not mine. You know, like I say, my achievement in all of that was, you know, taking her on as a graduate student.
And what difference did that discovery make? Like that's a big deal. Like you're thinking like we're dealing with these tiny little rocks, and then like you find the soft tissue in them. Like that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's still, you know, pretty controversial. I mean, there's still some controversy involved in that, but you know, again, it's one of these things where, you know, information is the most important thing, right? I mean,
yeah.
You know, naysayers are a dime a dozen, right? People that disagree with you are easy to come by, but
yeah,
you know, the evidence that Mary has is pretty overwhelming. So,
has it been replicated before? Like,
pardon?
A couple times.
Say that again.
Like, have they replicated the experiment a couple times to make sure it was
many times? Yes, many times.
How are there any naysayers? Like, it's been proven.
No, they're saying that the soft tissues are bacterial.
Look a lot like blood vessels to me.
Like biofilm. Yeah, it's unclear. And, you know, Mary and her team and have done chemical analyses. I mean, you know, it's unclear to me what, you know, how the naysayers really haven't falsified any of her hypotheses. They've just kind of created their own.
Yeah. And then it's like not proven.
Yeah, there's always going to be naysayers. Like, I think the biggest thing is just flat Earth. There's still people that think the Earth is flat, and you're not going to change your mind otherwise.
That's a good way to think about it. Yeah.
I actually have a question for you. There's a subset of people in this world who don't believe that the dinosaurs ever existed and that they're made up.
Oh my God!
What do you think about that? There was a guy on Joe Rogan debunking it before.
Yeah, I actually have a friend who is a fundamentalist evangelical Christian.
Okay.
And he did not believe in dinosaurs. And so, I took him to a dinosaur day. And it just blew him away. I mean, he was literally amazed as the team was digging these bones out of the rock. He realized that they were there, and later, it was during a summer, and later in that summer, he actually had me come and talk to his parishioners, and bring some dinosaur bones into the church, which I did.
Oh.
I mean, it was, and then people, liked it, and he told them, dinosaurs are real. There was
a big new discovery. That's so cool.
There was, and people are misinformed. They can stay misinformed for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to show them, you have to show them things, and then he basically backed me up and said, yes, they're real. Now, he and I disagreed on how old they were, obviously.
Of course.
But at least we got past the point of dinosaurs not existing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's important.
Oh, yeah. Just what you were saying there, like people being misinformed, like that's one of the reasons we wanted to get you on before. We did an episode, I think, on the Dino-Chicken before, but we were so stupid and
we were so
stuff
all over the place about
all over the shop. And we just said, okay, well, let's see about getting them on to talk about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we said before, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So we said we may as well ask.
We tend not to try, we try not to dive too deep into things just in case we make a complete fool of ourselves.
Yeah.
Without too much information. So.
Yeah.
The good thing we have you on.
Yeah. What a guy. And again, thank you for getting on today.
You're very welcome.
It's a big deal to me, as I've said it before.
Yeah, George has been non-stop talking about the Dino-Chicken ever since he found out about it.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Now, hopefully someday we can figure out how to make one.
Yeah, and for people who don't understand why did you go with a chicken?
Well, it's just all birds are equally related. They all share a common ancestor, which is a dinosaur, a non-avian, extinct dinosaur. But to do these experiments, we need eggs. We need a viable egg, and chicken eggs. A viable chicken egg only costs $5, right? As you can imagine, a viable ostrich egg is a lot more, and it's probably $100. So, if you're going to need a bunch of eggs, then you want to do it as cheaply as possible. Chicken is the way to go. Consider how many chickens are consumed, and how many chicken eggs are consumed every single day in this world. I mean, it's just billions, right?
I had 3 eggs for breakfast. It was great. What was I going to say? Give me a second here. It was why don't you guys use like a more primitive bird species, like what was it? The just because you said ostriches, like isn't there a family tree more primal than the rest of the birds?
Yeah, but like I said, they're all equally related. So if you can do it with a chicken, then you can do it with anything else. Once we can do this with a chicken, we don't have to use a chicken. We can then do it with an ostrich or
cassowary,
Sariyama, or a hornbill, or whatever.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got nothing.
You got nothing?
It's just so cool.
So I have a question.
I can't explain how blown away I am by this. Just the last 35 minutes.
Wait.
You had a question there, Thomas?
How's everything in Ireland?
Everything in Ireland's pretty good so far. We're coming out. We're in phase 4, 3. Which phase are we in now, lads?
We're in phase 3 at the moment.
In phase 3, coming out of lockdown.
Yeah.
You know?
I think phase 4 is at the end of the month. Pretty much you can do anything except go to a pub that doesn't serve food.
Or cinemas. Or county Offaly.
Cinemas are reopening.
Are they? Oh.
Are they? Yeah. County Offaly hasn't had any COVID cases in 2 weeks. So.
Oh, that's deadly.
Congratulations. I'm in California where we're spiking.
Yeah, are you re-entering lockdown?
A whole bunch of people went to the beach.
Yeah, I know. I've seen all the video. There's loads of videos and pictures of people.
Yeah, the photos. Oh my god.
I mean, yeah.
Talk about people that are misinformed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that over in America.
How they've been misinformed, because it's everywhere. You can't walk outside your house without seeing a sign to stay inside or take precautions.
Well, we have a president who thinks it's a hoax.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I seen a couple of memes, and it was the rest of the world recovering, and then the US, and it's believing in the virus is a political opinion.
Oh my god.
Right.
Wasn't he telling people to drink bleach at the start of it, and it kills the virus and stuff like that?
Oh no, it wasn't bleach. It was.
It was Dettol, disinfectant.
It was disinfectant, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
have they checked that?
When that guy's your president, you're in pretty much.
It's not easy.
Yeah, no.
Sure, look, Ireland's a lot more normal. If you want to ever consider.
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time in Ireland. I like it a lot.
Oh really? Where were you?
I've been over a couple of times for the Festival of Curiosity that's held in Dublin.
Oh wow!
Every summer, I've been there a couple of times.
You're hardly coming anytime soon, right?
Well, hard to say when the next time I'll come. I was there last summer.
Well, if there's another Curiosity Festival after all of this stuff, the three of us definitely need to go and meet you.
Yeah, or at least see you give a talk, because oh my god, when you get up on that stage, there's no stopping you. That's one thing I love. The first time I seen you was from a TED Talk. I was like, jeez, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is some crazy stuff. And I kept going and going further into that rabbit hole, and here we are.
Only thing about Ireland is I'd say there's less dinosaurs.
Actually, that's a question I wanted to ask. Have dinosaurs been found in Ireland? Because I've never heard of it ever being said. I know, in Britain, but not Ireland.
Say that again. Ireland? No.
Do you know if they've ever found dinosaurs in Ireland?
No, they lived in Ireland. You just don't have the right rocks exposed.
Fair enough.
Only 2 dinosaur fossil bones have been found in Ireland, and they're both from the same location on the County Antrim coast. So in the north,
imagine how lucky you'd be. Imagine how lucky you'd be to find one of 2.
And it was a herbivore called Scalodorus and a carnivore, Megalosaurus.
Where were they found?
Antrim. They'd be in the north.
Oh, it's Northern Ireland. It's not even Ireland.
Okay. Well, that's news to me. I did not realize that.
I didn't even know that as well.
We live here. We didn't know.
No.
Yeah.
Most of the dinosaurs in the Great Britain area have come from the Isle of Wight.
Isle of Wight.
On the south, the southern part of England. No, there's quite a few dinosaurs found there.
Oh, there's been a couple found there, yeah.
Yeah, that's if you ever get there, there's a nice museum there.
Guys, are we going digging, are we?
Sure, man, we might as well.
I think the only thing I've actually heard found here in the last few years was there was a plane from World War II recovered from a field.
I think you're thinking about a bomb. I don't think any planes were here.
No, there was definitely a plane. I can't remember what type of plane it was.
We were neutral during the war.
Yeah, but the plane was shot. I think a plane was shot down just over England, but it glided all the way here and then crashed into a field.
Right, that's cool.
Is that World War II or World War One? I can't remember, but yeah.
Fair enough.
It was in the last few years.
Of course.
Other than that,
Oh, he's drinking a can of Monster.
Good on you.
Good man yourself.
Oh, love it.
Did I ask already? Why did you want to become a paleontologist? I think you said before you wanted to pet dinosaur.
Yeah,
this way.
I found my first, I found my first fossils when I was 4. I found my first dinosaur my first dinosaur bone when I was 8. I found my first dinosaur skeleton when I was 13.
You're kind of like a real life Alan Grant.
That's incredible, wow.
Yeah, I know, like, really.
Could you imagine being like a 13-year-old and you just find a dinosaur skeleton and you're like, holy shit.
Darren, we're I don't want to surprise you, but we're with the guy that did.
I know. Yeah. But you just put yourself in his shoes. Imagine.
That was pretty cool, yeah.
Just the
That
shot.
was really cool. Did they actually base Alan Grant off you?
That's what it said. That's what Michael Crichton said.
Well, I guess that means it's true.
That's what Steven Spielberg said.
Wow.
That's
incredible.
I'm just glad he didn't get eaten.
Actually, isn't he coming back for the next one?
He's supposed to be in the next one.
Sam coming back for the next Jurassic World.
Yeah, I'm not working on that one, so I have no idea what it's going to look like.
What's your experience when you're on set for these movies? Like, how are you treated?
No, I'm treated very well.
What you do?
Making a movie. I've told the people in the movie business, Steven Spielberg and all, I wouldn't trade my job for theirs for anything. I mean, it's quite frankly, I think making a movie is boring. They just do the same thing over and over and over again to get the right shot.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
And everything is fake. So,
Yeah. If you weigh those two jobs out there, you just you're pretending to be someone who digs up dinosaur bones for fun,
right?
And then you're actually being someone. I think more people would go for the real deal.
Yeah, a number of the people on the set actually came out to the dinosaur field after they were done making the movies. So,
wow,
that's pretty cool.
So I think they agreed.
Of course.
How does someone go about becoming a paleontologist?
Well, I was born this way, so I just. I guess to officially become one, you have to go to college and get some kind of a degree, usually in geology. Paleontology is basically a cross between geology and biology. So you're a geobiologist or a biogeologist. That's what a paleontologist is. I mean, it's good to learn about geology because the bones are actually in rocks. But they are animals, and so you need the biology as well. So,
do you specialize with just, dinosaurs, or do you go for any other time periods? Like, it's kind of an awkward question. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just asking.
I only like dinosaurs.
That's fair.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So you're not going around looking for woolly mammoths, no?
Well, if I'm in an area that has woolly mammoths, I'm going to look for them. If I'm in an area that's really old and only has trilobites, like the one that you just held up,
my prized possession over there.
That's from Morocco. I recognize that trilobite.
Oh wow!
I got it in France. I was in Brittany.
It's from Morocco.
Been scavengered.
You've been bamboozled.
Yeah, that is from Morocco. Absolutely. In fact, hang on.
This is great, guys.
Jared is about to die because he's
I
about
am
to reveal
so
that
happy.
he has a matching trilobite.
That's so cool.
Oh.
Oh my god. We have matching trilobites. Oh my god.
I think we just found a title for this episode. Matching trilobites.
I need to go call my mom after this episode.
Speaking of call, I'm getting one. Excuse me.
No, you're granddad.
Well, that made my day. You have your own little museum, don't you?
Pardon?
You have your own museum, don't you? Full of dinosaur bones.
No, I used to work at the Museum of the Rockies. I retired in June of 2016, and one of my former doctoral students, is now the curator there. And so, I retired when I turned 70 and decided that I, wanted to just teach for a while. And yeah, there's some of the pictures of some of the things I dug up. There's some T-Rexes.
You dug up the B-Rex, did you?
My teams dug up 12 T-Rex skeletons.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
Fair few.
Yeah, there was a few.
It's more than I've gotten anyway. Well done, man.
You've beaten my record, in all fairness.
We're only on 6.
Yeah.
No.
Find him in the bog of Allen.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of it, man.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of it. We've covered a fair bit. You've made my day, definitely. Our matching trilobites. And yeah. Hopefully people have learned a fair bit about this. And you can start supporting, rather than shitting on, the Dino-Chicken project.
Yeah, well.
I'll be honest, lads, I want to see dinosaur. I want a pet dinosaur.
I have a GoFundMe site for it.
Let's have a look.
Just pull that
up on the screen now, yeah.
Any contributions you can, every little bit helps.
Is that a problem with it at the moment? Like it's underfunded?
It's definitely underfunded. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that says enough there.
Yeah.
Well, that says it, right? Yeah. That's.
Want to put the dinosaur.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get money for it. But like I say, anything helps. We need chemicals and
I feel like if you did this in a different country, they would nearly fund it entirely. If you did this in China, they would pay for the whole thing.
They probably would. Yeah, I've got a number of larger donors as well, but it's kind of fun to have a GoFundMe project or a GoFundMe site.
So the public feel they can be part of it.
So kids can help too. Yeah.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
I can imagine like a class doing a fundraiser to bring back dinosaurs. That sounds really cool.
Like bringing back the dinosaurs, selling cookies and stuff. That'd be kind of cool.
Send $5 to it.
Anyway, I want to thank you so much for getting on, sir. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Shame Dara isn't here to say goodbye.
Sure. No one cares.
Anyway, just Dara. So yeah, thanks everyone for listening.
My apologies.
Jesus. All right, here's back.
I'm sorry, I got a call on the landline.
All right. Well.
Fair enough.
Those things are nearly as old as dinosaurs, man. Come on, just get a phone.
Man.
So yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and we're ending the episode here. And take it handy.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Good luck to you.
All right.